What is going on, everybody, man? King Recon here, and I I really wanted to make this video a part of the Bleach Awesome Sauce segment, man, because I remember how amazing this was, man, and watching videos on it all day. That's what this chapter is how I discovered a lot more I should say channels than I did before when it came to Bleach, because I was like, searching hard, because usually I had like my select few people that I would watch on a regular basis when it came to Bleach, but for this chapter, for chapter 459, I was going out and watching everyone's videos, just seeing what they thought about it, whatever the case may be, because at the time the Fullbring arc was receiving, pretty it was half and half. A lot of people like myself really loving it, really enjoying it, and another half weren't really liking it too much because of the way the pacing was and how it was on a weekly basis. And it's understandable. It definitely is understandable because it was so different from the rest of the series. But that's something I love so much about the Fullbring arc, is that it brings us back to the beginning. It brings us back to like the Substitute Shinigami, episodic type of stuff that I really like. I've always been a huge fan of that. So the Fullbring arc I've always really enjoyed. So when chapter 459 came out, now there were theories, and I want to see if anyone out there remembers these theories. Before this chapter dropped, I remember that there was some theories because whenever he got hit in the chest, right here at the end of 458, I remember talking to one of my good friends, Carlos, and we had a conversation for hours on Xbox where we talked about the possibility of, and he was the one that brought it up. I take no credit for it. Carlos brought up the possibility of Ichigo going full hollow after that, because the entire Fullbring arc, they had been using like the hollows as like the hollows attack them as like this sort of feature, and they would always touch upon the hollows, never on a Shinigami's side, right? So he brought up the theory. He's like, yo, what about if the way that he gets his hollow powers back, or his Shinigami powers back, is that he goes full hollow because he received that hole in his chest? And I remember we were discussing that for hours and so many different scenarios, so many everything. And then when the chapter actually came out, not only surpassed my expectations, but it came completely out of the blue, man. I remember going through that throughout the entire chapter because, of course, finding out the whole thing with Ginjo and with Tsukishima. Because at the time, you were suspicious, but at the time it felt like it was too suspicious. It was like, man, because for me, you guys know that or at least those of you who have been with me for a long time, remember that I had like a Kisuke is the final villain theory. I had that for years, and I finally gave that up when the series ended, man. But I had that in the back of my mind for years, so I was always the part of the Urahara and Ishin plot to do something fishy with them, and that's why I really liked the mystery aspect of the Fullbring arc. But whenever the Genjo thing was going down, I was like, man, I don't know. He seems like, it seems like Kubo's putting him there in order to relay us away from something else, the same way he did in Soul Society, to relay us away from Aizen. He gave us did Gin do it? Did Toshiro do it? And instead, it was actually Aizen that did it. And that's the way I was looking at it here in the Fullbring arc. But no, it actually was Genjo that did it. As you go into the chapter and you see that he actually absorbs it, and man, and Ichigo's tearing up and whatnot, and then you finally see the blade, and when he looks behind him, it's Kisuke and Ishin, and you're like, what in the flying flag darts is going on? And then he's like, no, not you guys too. And that's one of the most used panels. After this chapter came out, this panel was used so much. Whenever Ichigo's just looking back with the tears, man, it's like, not you guys too, man. Like, how much that must have hurt Ichigo, yo? Looking behind him and seeing them too. It's like everyone's already betrayed him. Another episode I want to talk about in the Fullbring one of these days is episode 357. When Tsukishima completely destroys him. Because I actually like that episode a lot more than I did the manga chapter. Even as much as I like the manga chapter, I feel like the episode really hit the dramatic effect home in both the sub and dub versions. But I gotta talk about that episode one of these days. It's when everyone turns on Ichigo, man. Everyone. God, that it hurts, man. It's like it's one of those chapters, or one of those moments whenever he just looks back, man. It's like that's Ichigo's like when he's at his lowest. This guy that we knew as being our hero, as being the guy that would go through anyone, didn't give a damn, going out to completely other freaking places, to unknown places, and going on rescue missions, not getting a flying flag. No, that's why we love Ichigo so much, man. But then what actually broke him down the most was here at home. You know, here at home with humans is really what broke him down the most. Not these huge monstrous soul reapers, not these huge monstrous hollows, but humans and his actual relationships with them being crumbled and being destroyed. And that was the truly scary part about Tsukishima's ability and about these villains, which is why I like the Fullbring arc so much. You know, it touches upon that aspect of it, and I really like that. But and most definitely, man. But then you see down on the bottom, look closer, you should be seeing it by now. Look at who's actually holding that sword, bro. When I saw Rukia, I mean, because at the time, I used to read the manga chapters on my iPod Touch. So, like, when it came out on Manga Reader, I would go out there and read it immediately. You guys remember Manga Reader, man. Good app. That was the legendary app. I used to freaking reread. I reread the 1,000-Year Blood War, like, 12 times. By the time that it reached chapter 519, 520, I dare say by the time that Bleach reached chapter 546 for that, whenever it went on hiatus for 8 weeks, I had already reread the arc like 15 times. Because I reread it so many times between 500 and 519. God, especially between those times. When 500 came out, I remember specifically reading it. When 512 came out, was the top 3 favorite chapters in Bleach for me. Chapter 512. Freaking beast Ichigo entrance. And I'll make a video about that too one of these days. But I've reread the arc so many times. But, you know, just getting off that. Manga readers go. But whenever I was reading Manga Reader, man, on the iPod Touch, and I remember just seeing Rukia, man, and I was like, yo, she's here, she's back. But when she stabbed him, I was like, no, this can't be. And then you look down at the page, and then, of course, on the iPod, you have to go and, you know, swipe it, and you see that it's glowing, and it just... But the way the anime did it, yo, adding the instrumental. Now you feel like number one. The legendary Chotaku version of number one is so sick. I remember the first time I heard that in episode 308. You know, well, I'll talk about that whenever we get to that. But yeah, whenever they started using Chotaku here, I was like, yo. And then Bleach 459, Death and Strawberry too. And you're like, yo, callbacks to the beginning. And then you get into one of the most, even though it comes late in the series, I don't care what nobody says, this is one of the most iconic panels in the entire series. This is the panel of the Fullbring arc. You talk about the Fullbring arc, this is the first panel that pops up. Him finally getting his powers back post time skip with one of the most sickest double page spreads Kubo has ever drawn. Just look at this beauty, man. That was my profile picture, my wallpaper, my iPod freaking lock screen. I mean, it was such a legendary panel. And finally, the return of the Ichigo we love, man. The Ichigo with the superpowers, yo. And this chapter 459, and then leading into 460. I remember when 460 came out, all of us were so like, what is he gonna do? Yo, when he comes in and he swings with the Getsuga. And at first, you know, Genjo's like, you know, that's all you can do with your Getsuga. He's like, that wasn't Getsuga. That wasn't Getsuga! Yo, when Ichigo says that wasn't Getsuga, that's one of the most hype. It's not even meant to be like a hype scene, but where it is. That wasn't Getsuga. This is Getsuga. And he flipping wipes out the house from existence. Sends it to the null void. It's out of here. And you're like, yo, this is sick. But yeah, I'll never forget when this first came out, man. This was just it. Yo, and you're like, dude. The return of the solar powers after going through this entire arc. And I know that when that came out, like a couple people were super hyped, like, yeah, Bleach is back. And I remember seeing that. I saw like so many freaking titles saying Bleach is back. It's like, Bleach is back. Bleach never left, baby. Bleach has always been greatness. What you mean? Bleach has always been greatness. But yeah, but regardless of that, when it came to seeing like a lot of the other comments, like people said that it was a cop out and that Kubo never had like a thing actually written for him getting his abilities back with Fullbring powers. But I was like, man, honestly, the way that was done with Rukia and coming back, like, I thought that was just awesome. You know, like you know, it would have been cool, of course, to for us to see like how he would have actually gotten his abilities back with using his Fullbring powers and going forward with the plot. And you know, every single time that he uses Fullbring, you know, get stronger and he got new forms and that kind of stuff was cool. But ultimately, man, what I missed the most was the Cerebral powers. And when I saw Rukia show up, first of all, Rukia, because she's one of my favorite characters. That's Rukia. And it being her that did it again, that gave him his powers again, it was beautiful to me, man. I loved it so much. It was such an amazing chapter. Like, if I would have been doing chapter reviews at that time, I would have given this an awesome sauce of a chapter and I would have been fangasming for 100 years. Had we been doing live reactions the same way we did now to this chapter, can you imagine the reactions to this chapter? Like, especially to people who really love Ichigo, I'm telling you, man, I would have flown out of my window when I would have seen, just by seeing Rukia hit him with the blade again, I would have flown out the window. When I would have seen this godly panel, I would have flown. I would have hit another planet. Like, yo, Bleach greatness. But man, do you guys remember the awesome sauce of chapter 459 when this first came out? Or if you experienced the verse in the anime, episode 361? Do you guys remember how you felt about this particular chapter, that particular episode? Like, it was such an awesome freaking scene, man. This is one of the scenes that I could not wait. I remember when it first came out in the anime, me and all my friends, we waited so long for this to be animated, and we all watched. I couldn't wait to watch it so much. There was an app called, I believe it was Space on the iPod Touch, and I downloaded the episode that day, and I watched it. I think it was like in third or fourth period, and I watched it like 3 times throughout the day, man. I remember watching it for the last time on the bus going home, and I was like, yo, look at this. It's when Chotaku starts playing, man. He said it with a flipping blade. And then when him and Rukia start bickering, and you're like, yo, man, the nostalgia. I miss this. And especially if you were following it weekly, man, you were waiting so long to see flipping Rukia. But this is one of the most beast designs I've ever seen, man. But do you guys remember the awesome sauce, yo? And if you do, let me know what you thought about it down below. And we'll continue on next time with another awesome sauce of a scene. Because, yeah, man, 459 was so awesome, dude. That dope spread is so sick. Hovering our greatness, man. You guys have an awesome day. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know any memories or experiences you had with this particular chapter. I would love to read them, man. Always love seeing other people's memories and experiences when it comes to Bleach, especially when it comes to particular moments like this. You know, do you remember whenever you first read it and what you thought about it and that kind of stuff? Just let me know anything that you feel about this chapter down below, and we'll talk about it, man. Thank you very much for watching and have an awesome day, yo. Bleach flipping greatness, the Chotaku soundtrack.